Good morning everyone. This is Ms. S. Kripalakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Corporate Secretaryship from KCS Kasinadar College of Arts and Science. This PPT is the continuation of Unit 2 of Industrial Dispute Act 1947. These are the topics explained in this PPT: strikes and lockouts, layoff and retrenchment, special provisions relating to layoff, retrenchment and lockouts. First, strikes and lockouts. The Industrial Dispute Act 1947 regulates strikes and lockouts to maintain industrial harmony and prevent destructive actions that could harm the economy or public services. According to Section 22, strikes and lockouts are prohibited during the pendency of proceedings before a conciliation officer or a board of conciliation or any other authority involved in resolving an industrial dispute. This provision ensures that disputes are resolved through dialogue and legal procedures without escalating into strikes or lockouts. Additionally, Section 23 imposes further restrictions on strikes and lockouts in public utility services such as transportation and communication, requiring at least 14 days' notice before initiating any strike or lockout in these essential services. In the case of illegal strikes or lockouts, those not following the prescribed procedures, the Act allows for penalties and disciplinary actions against the parties involved. Moreover, Section 24 deems any strike or lockout illegally if it occurs during the pendency of conciliation proceedings or while a dispute is under the consideration of a tribunal or court. These provisions are designed to ensure that strikes and lockouts are used as a last resort after all other methods of dispute resolution have been exhausted, promoting a balance between the rights of workers to protest and the need for industrial stability and productivity. Next topic: layoff and retrenchment. The Industrial Dispute Act 1947 provides clear guidelines regarding layoff and retrenchment, which are measures taken by employers in situations of economic hardship or operational necessity. A layoff occurs when an employer temporarily reduces a workforce due to reasons such as shortage of raw materials, power failure, or natural calamities. Under Section 2, subsection KK, a layoff refers to the failure to provide employment to a worker for a reason beyond the employer's control. The Act ensures that workers laid off are entitled to compensation, typically in the form of a statutory layoff allowances, which is usually a portion of their wages. However, specific conditions apply, including the duration of the layoff and the requirement to reinstate workers once normal operations resume. Retrenchment, on the other hand, refers to the permanent termination of a worker's employment due to reasons such as redundancy or closure of business. According to Section 2, subsection OO, retrenchment includes any termination of a worker's employment by an employer other than for disciplinary reasons or voluntary resignation. The Act lays down strict procedures for retrenchment, requiring the employer to provide workers within a notice period or severance compensation equivalent to the wages for a certain period. Moreover, Section 25F stipulates that retrenchment can only be carried out after complying with legal formalities, including payment of compensation, which typically includes retrenchment compensation equivalent to 15 days of wages for every year of service. Both layoffs and retrenchment are subject to the provisions of the Act, which aims to protect workers' rights and ensure the employers act fairly and responsibly in reducing their workforce. Next heading: special provisions relating to layoff, retrenchment, and lockouts. The Industrial Dispute Act 1947 contains special provisions governing layoffs, retrenchment, and lockouts, designed to protect workers' rights while balancing employers' operational needs. Section 25C addresses the issue of layoffs, specifying that when an employer lays off workers due to reasons beyond their control, the employer must pay a statutory layoff of allowances, which is typically 50% of the worker's wages. However, there are conditions for layoffs, such as the requirement that the employer must follow proper procedures and that the layoff should not exceed a certain duration, after which the employer may be required to reinstate the worker or face further consequences. Next, retrenchment is governed by sections 25F to 25K, which provide rigorous guidelines for employees wishing to terminate workers on grounds of redundantcy or business necessity. Section 25F mandates that employers provide retrenched workers with compensation, typically 15 days of wages for each completed year of service, and the employer must offer a notice period or pay in lieu of notice. Additionally, the employer must follow the last in first out principle, meaning the most recently hired worker should be retrenched first unless a different agreement or policy applies. Special provisions also include that retrenchment cannot take place in cases of trade union activities or during the pendency of a dispute before a tribunal. Law codes, as per Section 2, subsection 1, refer to employers' actions of shutting down operations or preventing workers from entering the workplace as a form of protest or during industrial disputes. The Act restricts lockout's particularly during the pendency of a dispute settlement or without following legal procedures. A lockout is considered illegal if conducted without the mandatory notice or during the period when the dispute is under resolution by an authority like a conciliation officer or industrial tribunal. Special conditions also apply to lockouts in public utility services, where specific timelines and notice requirements must be adhered to, ensuring that such actions do not disrupt essential services. These provisions in the Act are aimed at safeguarding workers from unfair dismissal or disruptions in employment while also ensuring that employers have the legal framework to address economic challenges in a manner that is fair and structured. Thank you. Have a nice day.